Something went wrong, please try again later. Get the inside track on the big stories from Liverpool Crown Court with our weekly newsletter. The drunk thug who killed aspiring firefighter Duncan Browne left him for dead, then went to a party. Michael McLoughlin delivered an unprovoked, catastrophic injury punch to the 23-year-old at a city centre taxi rank. Liverpool Crown Court heard McLaughlin's friend Terrence Kerwin also hit the victim as they tried to get into a black cab ahead of him. Read more: 11 murder and manslaughter cases that will be heard in 2022. But after 36-year-old McLoughlin knocked out Mr Browne, who never regained consciousness, the cowardly pair fled the scene. McLoughlin was today jailed for 9 years and 4 months for manslaughter, while Kerwin was handed 10 months for assault causing actual bodily harm. Judge David Aubrey, QC, said, "You McLoughlin had killed your victim in the street. You then got into what you perceived, I have no doubt, as your taxi and left in it with others. You appear then to have gone to a party, no concern, no thought whatsoever at that time, to the man who now lay motionless in the street." Both men had denied a charge of murder and were originally set to stand trial this week. But the Crown Prosecution Service accepted McLaughlin's plea to manslaughter and Kerwin's plea to assault causing actual bodily harm. That decision, explained by prosecutors at a hearing before Christmas, was said to be despite the wishes of the victim's grieving parents. Mad Everton fan Mr Browne, from Kirkby, went out with friends to watch England's win over Ukraine at Euro 2020 on Saturday, July 3 last year. They became separated when he headed to a taxi rank on Hanover Street at around 3:30 a.m. John Benson, QC, prosecuting, said in a verbal altercation, one of McLaughlin's drunken group shouted, "Get out of the way, lad." He said Kerwin, of no fixed address, struck an initial punch to Mr Browne before McLoughlin, of Taurus Road, Old Swan, delivered a very hard punch to the head, followed by a second blow. Mr Benson said, "This the prosecution say was an unprovoked and wholly disproportionate reaction to the trivial issue of who was to board the taxi." Edge Hill University sports science graduate Mr Browne fell against a shop's roller shutters and was knocked out. Onlookers and paramedics tried to help him, but he died in hospital the next day, surrounded by his family. Medical evidence showed the right side of his jaw was broken by one of 2 punches thrown by McLoughlin and captured on CCTV footage. This caused forceful rotation of his head, resulting in severe vertebral artery injury, which led to a subarachnoid hemorrhage with subsequent cardiac arrest. The victim also had bruising around the left eye, said to be consistent with the punch struck by Kerwin. Mr Benson said McLoughlin probably learned on the Monday that Mr Browne had died, but didn't hand himself into police until a week later. Kerwin fled the country, boarding a ferry to Belfast on July 5 and then travelled on to Dublin, before returning when called by police on July 16. When interviewed, McLoughlin told officers he saw a man standing off next to Kerwin and said he automatically hit the one closest to him, then hit him again when he came towards him. He said he was sorry for the victim's family. The court heard McLoughlin has 16 previous convictions for 31 offences, including burglary and robbery. Get our free Echo Court Files newsletter. Liverpool's courts are some of the busiest in the UK, with a huge variety of cases being heard each week. To get a behind-the-scenes look at how they work and the moments that don't make our stories, subscribe to our free weekly Echo Court Files newsletter, written by court reporter Neil Docking. How do I sign up? It's free, easy and takes no time at all. First, just click on this link to our newsletter sign-up center. Once you're there, put your email address where it says at the top, then click on the Echo Court Files button. There are other newsletters available too, if you want them as well. When you've made your choice, press the Save Changes button at the bottom. He was on license at the time for a 32-month sentence for conspiracy to steal, involving raids on jewelers. Kerwin, who has 20 past convictions for 44 offences, including dealing Class A and B drugs, gave a no-comment interview. John Browne, the granddad of Mr Browne, read an emotional statement in which he mourned the loss of a kind, respectful, compassionate, and dynamic young man, and branded his attackers cowards. Nigel Power, QC, defending McLoughlin, said he did not apportion any blame to Mr Browne, and had told police, "Alls I can say is I'm sorry, deeply sorry." Mr Power said, he said he went in to help his friend, as badly judged help as it could ever be possible to imagine. He quoted a letter from McLoughlin, who said he was truly sorry for the irreversible loss and a lifetime of heartbreak and grief he had caused. McLoughlin said, "I'm truly sorry from the bottom of my heart. I would never ask for forgiveness for the unforgivable." Mr Power said McLoughlin shared custody for a 5-year-old daughter, and references spoke of him being ordinarily kind, thoughtful and caring. However, Judge Aubrey said McLaughlin's previous convictions don't really suggest kind and caring. Nick Johnson, QC, defending Kerwin, said he too was remorseful and had spent nearly 6 months in custody. Judge Aubrey said Mr Browne had his whole life ahead of him, and the ardent Everton fan intended to serve the community as a firefighter. He said the victim wasn't drunk, but his attackers had been drinking to excess. Judge Aubrey accepted he had shown remorse for his actions since, but said Mr Browne's family were shattered by his actions. He quoted part of a letter from a woman who had received a life-saving organ from Mr Browne. She said, "As a result of your kindness and generosity, I have been given another chance at life, which is such a precious gift, which I will cherish forever." Judge Aubrey said, in contrast, "What did each of you do as Mr Browne lay unconscious in the street? You got into the taxi, you left the scene and went to a party." He said McLoughlin was described as kind and caring, but told him, "You showed no such care on the night in question." Judge Aubrey said, "This was a wholly unprovoked and gratuitous assault in the city centre upon a man who had not been abusive, he had not been confrontational, and I am satisfied he had not offered any threat of violence whatsoever." He said he would have jailed McLoughlin for 14 years after a trial, but giving him full credit of 1/3 for his guilty plea, jailed him for 9 years and 4 months. McLoughlin must serve 2/3, just over 6 years behind bars. Judge Aubrey said he would have jailed Kerwin for 15 months, but applying the same credit, imposed a sentence of 10 months, of which he has to serve half. This will in effect mean Kerwin's immediate release. Receive newsletters with the latest news, sport and what's on updates from the Liverpool Echo by signing up here.